Hello everyone and welcome to Hockey Hub. I'm Brennan and today we're doing a standings prediction and we were looking at the North Division, aka the Canadian Division. Now to me and most hockey fans, the Canadian Division is easily the most exciting division because all of them obviously Canadian markets, big markets, star players, and most of these teams are so close together that this is probably the hardest division to predict. So before I get into predictions, don't bite my head off for putting your team lower than you think they should be or higher or whatever. These are just my opinions. Obviously I'm not going to be right about this. I'm sure I'm probably going to be dead wrong, and a lot of these teams are going to be all mixed around, but these are just my predictions and just making this for fun. But we are going to start off with number 7. Now, at number 7, I have the Ottawa Senators. Now, this is probably not a surprise to many people, but I'm pretty sure the consensus is that Ottawa is going to finish last in this division. That being said, I think they are going to be a competitive team, and definitely an improved team, considering they added guys like Matt Murray, Evgeny Dadonov, Derek Stepan, and other guys like Eric Branson and everything. They added a lot of pieces here, and some of these are really good pieces, like Dadonov and Murray. I think Ottawa's going to be a much improved team, especially when you factor in their young players like Thomas Chabot and Brady Tkachuk are only getting better with age. And, rookies coming in, like potentially that star rookie Tim Stützle. He just had an amazing tournament for Germany in the World Juniors, so Stützle is definitely going to be a name to keep an eye out. I don't think that Ottawa has the overall star power and depth in their lineup to keep up with this Canadian division, though, and they're probably still going to end up finishing last. At number 6, I have the Vancouver Canucks, and this is probably not going to be a very popular opinion, but before this offseason, I honestly thought that Vancouver was probably the best team in Canada. They went furthest in the playoffs, and I thought that their overall lineup had a good mix of star power, balance, and some veterans, that I thought that they were the best team on paper, and they performed like it as well. That being said, they did lose a lot this offseason, and the likes of Jacob Markstrom, Chris Tanev, Tyler Toffoli, Josh Levo, and Troy Stecher. They did do an admirable job, trying to recoup some of their losses, getting guys like Nate Schmidt, Braden Holtby, and Travis Hamonic, but I don't think that's going to be enough. I think the main reason why I have Vancouver this low is I looked at the record, their record against Canadian teams this past season, and it was abysmal. It was way below 500, and they were probably the worst team versus other Canadian teams, and this has kind of been, a trend in Vancouver for a while. They're not able to compete well with the other Canadian teams, and I think that's probably going to lead to them struggling a lot this season. That being said, Vancouver still does have a very bright future moving forward, and I think they're going to be a great team for years to come, but I can honestly see them getting a little buried in this Canadian division. Now at number 5, I have the Edmonton Oilers. Now this is probably another hot take, but to me, I think Edmonton is probably just going to miss the playoffs. Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are going to be enough to keep them competitive and keep this close and keep them in a lot of games and win them a lot of games. But that being said, I think their goaltending tandem is easily the weakest in this division. Maybe Ottawa can compete with that, but I think Murray is a solid goaltender. He just had a bad year. So Edmonton's goaltending tandem is really weak, and then you look at their defense, and there's a lack of a true number one defenseman there, which every other Canadian team has. Losing Oscar Klefbom really hurts as well because he was the closest thing they had to a true number one defenseman, so losing him. And then their depth on the wings is a lot better, but that being said, a lot of this is unproven depth. If Jesse Puljujarvi can come in and look like a star, Edmonton could end up winning the division. But if he looks like how he did in his first couple years in the NHL, this could be a serious problem for Edmonton, and they could be struggling with their wing depth again. They did do a good job trying to fill in some of these holes in their lineup, but I still think that they're a very top-heavy team, and just there's so many holes in this lineup that I can't see them making it for these predictions. Now, just squeaking into the playoffs at number 5, I have the Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Winnipeg Jets were carried by their star starting goaltender Connor Hellebuyck this past season, and I think Hellebuyck is going to be able to do some of that again. That being said, Winnipeg did upgrade their overall lineup. I think Paul Stastny is going to be a great addition for them, slotting in perfectly between Nikolai Ehlers and Patrick Laine. The Laine situation is probably going to hang over Winnipeg's head for a little bit, as this is likely Laine's last year in Winnipeg due to trade rumors, trade requests. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him, but Winnipeg still has some of the best star power in this division with the likes of the aforementioned Patrick Laine, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, and obviously Connor Hellebuyck. Winnipeg's defense is the real weak part here, though. Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk are two really good defensemen, but the rest of the roster is questionable. Dylan DeMello was a good add from Ottawa, but not necessarily going to bring a lot of offense. But thankfully for Winnipeg, it looks like Ville Heinola is ready to step into maybe even a top 4 role and be a very good rookie defenseman. If he's able to step into Winnipeg's top 4, I think he's going to be enough to make that defense look a lot better, and I think Winnipeg is going to be able to squeak into a playoff spot. Now at number 3, I have the Montreal Canadiens. Now the Montreal Canadiens arguably had the biggest offseason of any Canadian team. They brought in a lot of players and actually did not manage to lose a lot of players. The only notable guy they lost was Max Domi, but they did bring in Josh Anderson, Tyler Toffoli, Jake Allen, Joel Edmondson, Corey Perry, and Michael Frolik. So there's some good depth here, and getting a guy like Tyler Toffoli is going to bring an added scoring boost. Getting Josh Anderson is that power forward they needed, and I think Jake Allen is going to be a critical piece for Montreal as well. Having arrested Carey Price is going to give Montreal a lot more strong games from him. He's going to steal a few more games and just look like an overall better goaltender, and I would imagine puts up better numbers than he did this past season. Montreal's overall lineup really improved, and having a potential star rookie blue liner like Alexander Romanov come in could be a big deal as well. Though I don't expect Romanov to put up good offensive numbers, I think he's going to bring a very strong defensive presence for a rookie, as Montreal's defense is very defensive-minded. So I think Montreal has probably the best depth in all of Canada, and I think that's why they're going to be able to finish as high as third in this division. I think that they have a lot of grit in their lineup as well, which is going to be big when you're going up against teams like Calgary, who's got some very gritty guys and everything. So I think that Montreal's a team that is built for this style of schedule, condensed, multiple back-to-back games, and I think Montreal is going to be able to have a good regular season. But at number 2, I have the Calgary Flames. Now, the Calgary Flames, there's another Canadian team that had a big offseason. Most Canadian teams did, actually. Getting a really good starting goaltender, Jacob Markstrom, bringing in Chris Tanev, Josh Levo, all those guys from Vancouver, so that's going to be a fun rivalry between them, but also getting some good depth in Joachim Nordstrom and Dominic Simone. Calgary just needs to figure out the whole playoff thing. I think that they'll be a good regular season team. I think that they'll make the playoffs, but they have a bit of a choking identity. I think Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan need to have bounce-back seasons in order for Calgary to finish as high as second, and they'll likely be able to do so. I think Calgary is going to be one of the more interesting teams to watch in this division. They do have a very balanced lineup, and they do got some really good young defensemen in Juuso Valimaki and Rasmus Andersson. Calgary should be a fun team to watch, and I know I'm certainly looking forward to watching the Battle of Alberta 10 times a year. And at number 1, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs probably have the most high-end talent in this entire Canadian division, with the likes of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares, Morgan Riley. Obviously Winnipeg and Edmonton competes with that, but I think Toronto has that high-end talent mixed with, other good forwards like Zach Hyman and, Jimmy Vesey, Wayne Simmons, Alexander Kerfoot. They've also really upgraded their blue line with the likes of TJ Brody. I think he's going to be a big addition for them and should play very well in that top pairing. So Toronto's defense on paper really improved. They've also got some rookies that could maybe step into spots, and their goaltending I think is strong as well. Frederik Andersen gets a lot of criticism, but I think it's unwarranted. Andersen has been the backbone of the Maple Leafs for these past few seasons and has always put up good regular season numbers. Even in what was a down season this past year, he still had a good record and a .909 save percentage. Jack Campbell's a decent backup as well and is going to be able to give Toronto good starts when they decide to rest Anderson. So I think Toronto's overall lineup is the strongest in this division and is likely going to perform the best. I don't think that they're necessarily going to feast on the division like some people have predicted, but I can still definitely see them finishing first. Toronto is the one team that I don't think is going to end up missing the playoffs, whereas the other teams, I think you can make an argument for every single one to miss the playoffs, maybe except for Calgary. That's the thing that makes this division so interesting, is that 1 through 6 is so close together that it's so hard to predict. For me, the only absolutes is that Ottawa is going to miss and Toronto is going to make it. But even then, you never know. In a weird condensed schedule like this, anything can happen. And I think that's what makes this division the most exciting. You're going to see Montreal, Toronto 10 times a year. You're going to see Vancouver, Calgary 10 times a year. Those games are going to be really good when you consider all the players that Calgary took from Vancouver, and then obviously the thing that everybody is looking forward to, the Battle of Alberta 10 times a year. So there is going to be some great rivalries. I expect there to be a lot of fights, and I think this is probably going to be the grittiest division. Think of some of the pests and agitators in this division. Matthew Tkachuk, Corey Perry, Brendan Gallagher, Zach Ronaldo, Zach Kassian, then even like Josh Anderson is a presence as well for Montreal. Wayne Simmons, the list goes on. So there's a lot of great guys in here, and I think there's going to be a lot of fighting, and I think it's going to be a very exciting division to watch and a very exciting season. It's also exciting at the prospect that a Canadian team is basically guaranteed a berth into the conference finals. A Canadian team hasn't made it to the conference finals since the Winnipeg Jets did it back in 2018, so that's going to be exciting to watch, and I honestly couldn't tell you which Canadian team is going to be. If I had to pick, I'd probably say it's Calgary, but who knows? I think this division is wide open and is going to be the most fun and exciting. But that does it for today's video. I appreciate you guys watching till the end. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys later. Bye for now.